Introduce our speakers for this event, for which we are gathered today here. First of all, let me introduce to you Elena Menon. She is a certified master coach. She's also an executive coach and life coach, specializing in transformative leadership coaching. Elena is a faculty member of the Coach Masters Academy, and she is the director of training for India. Welcome, Alina. Then I would like to introduce to all of you Jayanta Fernando, who is a professional certified coach specializing in the executive coaching and leadership development. Jayanta is the director of training for the Sri Lanka and the Maldives Islands. And we also have today Radu Mindru, who is a professional certified coach, vice president of ICF Romania. He is a leadership and team effectiveness coach. And Radu is the coach, trainer, and supervisor of the CMA. And as we move forward to the topic of our conversation today, let me say a couple of words about it. Maybe trust, the word trust, it's hard to define, but we all do know when it is lost. And when that happens, we withdraw our energy and level of engagement, don't we? This webinar will look on why trust and safety are critical now in leadership, and how to undertake this leadership responsibility to building trust and safety in the current difficult times. And I'm passing now the floor to our presenters. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. Hello, everyone. I'm just curious and I want to ask you by raise of hands, who here is considering himself or herself a leader? Just raise your hand. So we have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or more. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, great, thank you. So it seems that most of us here are leaders, and we will look into this topic of trust and safety. Actually, we will look at more in the organizational field. And I'll start with presenting maybe the main idea. So trust and safety are prerequisites for team performance, for individual performance, and for organizational performance. And to structure our presentation, it will have 3 parts. So firstly, I will introduce why trust and safety are critical for performance and why these times are challenging for building trust and safety. Secondly, Jay will acknowledge that these times are also a great opportunity for leaders to develop themselves and their organizations by learning new types of leadership conversation that actually will enhance their impact. And thirdly, Alina will bring us to the essence of us as leaders, sharing also some practical tips on how you can approach this challenging topic. Then in the end, we'll have a Q&A session. Okay, now before expanding on this first idea of trust and safety being a challenge for leadership, I'm curious, what is your understanding on trust and what do you associate it with? So I would like to invite you to go to chat and I'll paste there a Menti link. Just go to the Menti and share what's in your mind, what comes to your mind when you hear the word trust, and see what is building up from our current understanding. I would appreciate a confirmation that you actually can see the Menti. Yeah, it works.
Yes, it works.
Okay, we have answers coming up. You can fill in more than one word, so you can be generous. And immediately I will also share the screen to see how this word cloud is building up. And we have a belief. Okay, we have confidence, relationship, respect, keeping the promise, vulnerability, wow, credibility, low self-orientation, how nice, openness, reliability, commitment, transparency, wow, a lot of safe space, I love it. Okay, what do we have else? Faith, empathy, wow, great one. Thank you all for sharing that. So now going on this journey on exploring trust. Actually, what we have seen with this word cloud is it is related to the emotion, but it's also a belief, and it's a belief in the sense that we believe that the other won't harm you. So you see a person and you consider it not risky. So you are entering in this relationship without considering it risky. So in a way, trust is a risk management embedded tool in us, which enables us to interact with people and perceive a relationship as being safe. Now, why trust and safety are challenging for leadership now in this current era? So let me share with you some three perspectives on this. And all those three perspectives are relating with how we are actually experiencing this now, this era. And we're having three, I will share you three perspectives. One is a personal perspective, and maybe you can relate to that. While working from home, you have a lot of things happening around you. You have kids, you have cats, you have dogs, I don't know what. Something on the stove maybe. So this is one aspect of the experience of now. Another aspect is the fact that us as teams, we are working remotely. So we are seeing each other on a square window, or if we see us in person, mostly we don't see at least we don't see just our eyes. So maybe it's not enough, I don't know. And thirdly, what is happening around is changes very fast and happening all over. I'm curious, does it relate to you? Something around this one? Okay, yeah. Now, what I'm gonna do now is just to emphasize a little bit those three areas. And I look into it in terms of leadership challenges and see in which way there are leadership challenges. So the first leadership challenge is actually a personal conversation. And what is happening is due to the fact that people are experiencing now, what is experiencing now is this work from home. Yeah. So work from home is a great solution for safety, but it also needs the trust from the management, trusting the employees to work remotely and do their job without physical supervision. But this new way of working challenges the leader to open a trust and safe space for what was previously out of bounds conversations, like on family, on kids, or health. So here is the first challenge for the leaders to come closer to people and open up at personal level. In order to have this kind of conversation, leader needs to genuinely to show genuine vulnerability and compassion, which in some company culture are not very easy to surface. Okay, the second leadership challenge goes with the team conversations. And actually what is happening is we know that a team needs collaboration in order to be successful. And the foundation for collaboration is trust. But the virtual setting leads us to little interaction. So we have fewer data to confirm that we can trust each other. Are our colleagues actually working? Will they deliver on time? And another impact comes to the fact that we interpret, unconsciously, we interpret our lack of physical contact or incomplete physical contact as untrustworthiness. So, and on top of this, there is huge pressure from the environment with a lot of emotions. And this perceived threat that we pick from the environment is challenging people to sort of a difficult decision sometimes. Who comes first now, my family or my team? Okay. And the third challenge goes to the organizational conversation. And what we can see now with this high, fast changing cycle. So if we remember the classical change management curve, it looks like that. People are traveling this curve, starting with a lot of emotions, fear, anxiety, anger, denial, confusion, uncertainty. And that what is happening is a decrease in performance. Then comes the acceptance, and the performance starts rising again, and people are learning what they need to learn in order to do their job in the new environment. But what we face now is a different kind of change due to the disruptive character of the change in the environment. So what we can see is as the next change is happening very soon after the first one. So the people don't have the chance to travel through all the curve. So actually they stay a lot in this negative emotions with uncertainty, and when we experience a lot of times these emotions like uncertainty, fear, or confusion, our emotional brain takes it over. And what happens is this perceived threat triggers the autopilot reactive mode of the brain that shuts down the higher executive functions. And actually we're having difficulties in focusing our attention, regulating our emotion, and noticing connection or making smart decisions. So that is the challenge of leadership in a fast cycle. This transitioning of the mind of the people from reactive to receptive. And we in Coach Masters Academy, we are focusing from the core level training on this transition from reactive to receptive state of mind. So with this three areas, personal, relationship, and organizational, of challenges that appeared recently due to the whole environment around us, there is this challenge that is risen for our leaders and for leadership. So what kind of leadership conversation can create trust and safety at the workplace? So I will pass it to Jay to go further this exploration and to try to address these questions.
Yes, thank you, Radu, for that. And as Radu explains that how challenging it is from a point of view of, getting that connection, hold that connection and trust, and win that trust from our subordinates, win that trust from our others in the organization. So let me start with a small story. So my story goes like this. Once there is a little girl and her father were crossing a bridge. The father had a concern. He asked the daughter, "Sweetheart, please hold my hand, because I'm afraid you might fall into the water." The little girl said, "No, Dad, you hold my hand." So what's the difference? The puzzled father was questioning. The daughter said, "There's a big difference. So if I held your hand and if something happens to me, chances are that I may let go of your hand. But if you hold my hand, and I know for sure that no matter what happens, you are not going to let go of my hand." So my dear colleagues, as leaders, most of you now, you know that we are challenged in this. We may have many technological elements and then the processes to get connected to our subordinates. But right now, having all that, it is really challenged. The essence of trust is not in its bind, but in its bond. So allow me to further take this session for you to really see how to build up this bond in the work context. I think that you all remember that suddenly last year, in somewhere around April, May, this COVID started coming in, the virus and all that. Suddenly we all had to really, it's like shocking. We were in chaos. And we were like first to act quickly, but in panic. But later, that if we noticed that we were like retrospecting on what happened and started really engaging with our staff in a different way. So, so you may have noticed that there is a set of skills, new skills that we need to learn in that process. Because as leaders, we may need to go beyond ourselves and teams and groups, and so it's so scattered and complex. So allow me to just take you through this journey of looking at it from a coach's point of view, and as well as a leader. So may I share my slides? Radu, could you help me to share from your side, Radu?
I see that you're sharing already.
I'm sharing?
But it's something else. now it's okay.
Yeah. So let us go into this. So your experience and trust. Shall we do a little activity here? So I would like you to step back and just think and make sense of that experience that you felt that it was great way of leadership that inspires and instills trust and safety in this time, this difficult time. So I would like you to revisit into your experiences and share it with us in the chat box. Radu, would you like to read some of those while they're typing?
So we have regular communication and check-in with the team, honest feedback,
okay,
listening sessions,
wow,
support and motivation, showing appreciations, leaders being vulnerable, sharing their own stories,
okay,
draw out the best in each member of the team,
brilliant,
allowing flexibility on deliverables, working with team on ground, leading from the front, constant team check-ins, checking the well-being of the family.
Wow. So I see some extra elements here, like other than what we usually do, there are many other things that is being shared here. So let me take you through what really happening in the background, right? So as you know, the trust is basically trust and safety is going to be the a kind of enabler of leadership. So in these difficult times, basically that we need to show ourselves. Radu, can you see the presentation? No.
No.
I think if you can take it from your side, that's a great help.
Let me share it from my side. Okay, it's okay.
All right. So basically, trust. Here, the trust is. We are going to look at a few things here. So I'm going to introduce you 3 words. As you know, for us to get connected to our staff, there need to be safety established, right? And as you know, in a time that we are in a panicking mode and we are in a very complex situation, how do we connect with our leader, our colleagues, as well as our subordinates matters a lot. So we may have already set strategies, already well-established systems in place and processes. And this is a time that where we need to really courageously step forward to change those. So as a leader, while you're managing the short term, you may need to really think of how you manage the long term as well. So it's like walking on a tightrope. So that's where like most leaders sometimes are really struggling to be a real leader. So real in the sense to have courage to talk about that is whatever that is unspeakable, right? So have that courage to be really clear about that when there is no clarity and instilling trust and purpose to people. So I think the leaders need to show up very authentically there. So the beauty is when you are authentic and when you are logical and skillful, then you get that kind of return. It reciprocates with your staff. And you know, sometimes in panicking situations that we are challenged to make the right decisions at the right time. Maybe now we may have a self-doubt that the skill set that we have is not enough. And here where that we need as leaders to really upskill in a speed. You can't just wait for it. So what I want you to highlight here is that authenticity, that decision making at a speed, and developing competencies. On top of that, if you really have that care, the concern over your community, and care for your teams, and not only you, spend time in terms of developing leadership qualities, these qualities in every person, every level. So that's where I think that we need to really focusing on. So as you know, leadership is about empowering others to get what you want, what the organization wants. And not only the staff, you have other stakeholders to manage. But when it comes to trust and safety, that is going to give you an emotional framework. Emotional framework that allows the exchange. You know, when you trust someone, there's no boundary there. You're willing to exchange anything. So here as an organization, when the organization, the routine is challenged, the systems are no more working, and future is not to be seen. So how can we get that service exchange from our staff is really a skill to practice. And so that's where like I would like to get this metaphor in here. So these three wheels in the tuk-tuk or three-wheeler, if you just imagine that one wheel is wobbling, what happens? The whole three-wheeler is going to wobble. So likewise, if authenticity or logic or empathy, one of these wheels, if you just imagine those are wheels, and if it wobbles, the trust wobbles. So I'm inviting you to go back and retrospect, reflect back and see of any moment that you find a little bit of distrust being created. So any of these routes or any of these wheels are going to wobble, right? So this I'm just offering you as a little tool where you can really work on. And this is a time where that people expect more from leaders. So if you are if you're my leader, I'm willing to be led by you because I trust you. I'm willing to give up some of my freedom, my autonomy, and put my well-being in your hand because I trust you. So in turn, you are willing to rely on me because you trust me. So that way, so what I believe that you all understand in these moments of time, we can say trust is an essential leadership capital. It's a business imperative. So I know lots of companies are shifting their way of looking at whole HR perspective, organizational perspective in a very different way.
Ginger.
Yes. So, so then if I go to the next slide, as coaches and coaches who practice transformative approach, you can see that the kind of conversation is shifting more from a transactional way of conversing to a transformational conversing. So what it means for me is like we are more connected with our subordinates, and we have to learn how to create that supportive climate in the workplace. So how to instill more entrusting and trusting climate in terms of our conversations. So as coaches, especially from CMA, that we used to transform ourselves in the process of learning. A lot of students here may know that we are transforming ourselves in the process, and we continue to evolve to be a better version of ourselves. So this is where that we can bring the humanity to the workplace. So I think this is where I want you to draw your attention. You just don't, you are not going to face this reality, face these challenges just as a transaction. You are going to really look at how that you're going to have these conversations differently. So basically, that is what I want to say in this. To conclude my thoughts, you know that we haven't had any opportunity to learn trust in any school, right? You may agree on that. So, but my invitation is take some effort. So most of the time as leaders, we assume, we have a big assumption that people need to trust us as leaders. So my invitation here is put some deliberation, put some slow down and put some thoughts and bring a little bit of reflection on this particular matter. So how can I be more connected? How can I be more creating more connection and safety towards my subordinates, my team members who are very distant more than before? Whatever system or process that you have in place, it is, you need to take some kind of deliberate action. That is my call. And with that, so I'm inviting Elena to add further into this discussion. Elena?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Radu, you can continue with sharing the presentation. It'll be nice. I'll just speak and I'll just request you if that's okay. Yeah, it'll make the conversation a little more interactive. Welcome to a little more discussion on trust. My name is Elena. Let me tell you an amazing fact. There is a community in India called the Sikh community, S-I-K-H. They are these people who wear a turban. They are the warrior community. This community has been allowed to carry a small knife or a dagger, small sized one, with them at all times, on flights, into the parliament, into the police station. In fact, the UK government has even made a provision in the, or rather an amendment in their policies to allow the Sikh man or even a woman to carry this weapon. Amazing, isn't it? So what is this weapon that they carry? Why do they carry it? They carry this weapon as a symbol of self-defense. And their promise to the world is that unless there is requirement or all efforts of reconciliation fail, only then will this righteous sword come out. Otherwise, it will always be to protect. Amazing, isn't it? That every Sikh man, and this community is spread all over the world, and I'm sure in your parts of the world also, you would have seen at least one Sikh gentleman or woman. They keep this word. They carry the dagger. They're allowed to carry it publicly on their belt or under their clothes, and they carry it. And they never let this trust be lost, because they make the promise and their actions are always in line with this promise. Talking of personal leadership, my part of the presentation is to just give you some tips. Yeah, Radu, can have the presentation, please. Just a few tips on all that my two colleagues, my two friends have already discussed to make it easy for you as leaders. A lot of you put your hand up and said, we are leaders. We have to deal with issues of inspiring trust, issues of coming across as trustworthy. In fact, trust is a two-way highway. You need to trust, you need to be trusted. And it's a choice that you make, whether you want to start by first saying, I trust you unless you break my trust, or I will never trust you unless you give me a reason to trust you. That's a leadership choice that I am leaving to you all. But what I have is a few tips, like a formula. Can I do the next one, please? So like a formula which kind of will help you to practice trust the way you would have, you would be you find it easy to demonstrate. What I'm talking about is the first formula, the first one. Empathy plus credibility. Thank you, Radu. Empathy plus credibility is equal to trust. So my friend Jay had already spoken about it, authenticity he talked about. Here's a formula which says in your communication, every day, if you sound empathetic in your language and in your emotions, and if you bring your credibility to the table. Credibility the leader has, lots of experience, lots of good work done, a grand nation to kind of support him. So the credibility or the competence is in place. But if we can put both of these together, leadership will be able to very easily and simply demonstrate trust and inspire trust. If you ever go to any professional who you particularly like, a doctor, a lawyer, your financial consultant, they may come with a whole lot of good background, but if you don't find them empathetic, you don't want to go back to them. And if they empathize with you, then even if they are not the best in the country, you want to go and talk to them. What do these people with personal leadership inspire? Empathy plus credibility is equal to trust. Let's look at the next one. What do these leaders do? They practice what they preach. Remember a boss who asks you for commitment, doesn't keep his. Others are watching, others are listening, others are feeling how you are responding to the world. If this supervisor criticizes everyone for spending time on the internet and then does her own shopping online, then this leader is not in any way practicing what she preaches. So this philosophy of, do as I say, not as I do, is not something that will work. So no matter what the situation, this double standards of saying one thing, doing another thing, leads to this feeling of betrayal. And if this has ever happened to you, remember, it is just a letdown. So watch your behaviors. Leadership is tough. You're constantly under the microscope. People are looking at you, people are talking about you, they watch your reaction, they watch your responses. Sometimes your team members even put you to a test by telling you a particular thing to watch how you are responding. Because if you are consistent in your responses with the person A and person B, then this consistency says, okay, he practices what he preaches. And so a big part of leadership responsibility is to lead people with your own actions. The next tip. Trust is the glue of life, most essential ingredient. Great leaders care deeply about their people, especially in today's times. Leaders need to actually be seen taking the time out to ask people about their lives with real sincerity. What's happening with working from home? Are you being tugged by your little kid as you are having boardroom kind of conversations? Is it that there is no help in the house and you are on a webinar as well as paying attention to food being put on the table? What we are watching unfold actually is a whole lot of deprioritization of business to cater to personal challenges. The good thing is that this pandemic is also manifesting a whole lot of compassion. We are actually unfolding an amazing and an incredible social phenomenon. The spirit of compassion, kindness, the acknowledgement of interdependence. We all know that this pandemic has been an incredible teacher to many leaders, to all of us. And for the leader to be trusted, the one philosophy which is working in today's time is no one is well until everyone is well. So caring deeply about people, especially during these times, is the only way to move forward. Next one. They welcome feedback. They act on it. Leaders sometimes are not open to feedback, and nobody is beyond feedback. But here is a new concept that I have brought into feedback, something that, or rather not I have brought in, I am bringing in here to show you. It's something that's a very popular way or the new way of looking at feedback. If feedback is about showing you the mirror, then this new concept is feed forward. Feed forward is like looking into a crystal ball. This is a dramatic improvement on what we think is feedback. Because if feedback is going in the past direction, how you functioned in the past, which was not good, which didn't work, then feed forward comes in the form of practice for the future. So feed forward is future, whereas feedback was past tense. And if leaders cannot practice feedback, they can at least practice feed forward, because it kind of takes care of those 2-3 things that make feedback a problem. Successful people in dominant positions don't want to hear feedback. Subordinates don't want to give feedback. So here's what you can do with Feed Forward. Choose a behavior that you'd like to change, which you feel will have a significant positive impact on how you are coming across as a leader. Say, I want to be a better listener. Describe that to a person, whoever you feel you'd like to talk to. The person is irrelevant. Just say, I want to be a better listener. And then ask this person for 2 suggestions that might help you to achieve this positive change. The only rule is everything is about the future, not the past. No mention of the past. The person is giving you 2 suggestions on how you can listen. Listen attentively, take notes. Your only ground rule is you're not allowed to judge, you're not allowed to rate, you're not allowed to critique the suggestion. Just listen, say a thank you, and move forward. When leaders are open to feedback and quickly act on it, they are able to get people to trust them. What I'm giving you is simple tips that you can start practicing from now onwards. And the last one, trust is like confidence. You first have to trust yourself. Just like you first have to be confident yourself. If you're confident yourself, then the world sees your confidence, feels confident with you. It's contagious. Similarly, if you have to inspire trust, you have to trust yourself first, and it will show on the others. On the other hand, is this opposite of trust, which is distrust. If trust is similar to confidence, then distrust is similar to suspicion. And if you want to begin with trust, you have to begin with having confidence that you can trust yourself. Whatever you say, you will stick with it. You'll stay committed with it. And if you can depend on yourself to stay true to your own word, it will show like confidence and it will project on the others. Like I said, the most important person to then trust is your own self. Those were 5 quick tips from my side on how we can practice inspiring trust in today's times. Yeah, I'm going to hand you over back to my friend Radu to put it all together.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. We started by gathering thoughts from the room, and in the middle it was confidence. And now you're landing this presentation with this conclusion that it all starts with self-confidence. And I'm linking it with what Ben was saying in the session in the morning around how to look, what kind of sight you need. So it's an insight or it's an outsight. So actually leadership starts within, from inside. But of course, you need to be connected to everything what is outside. So in order for the people to board this ship from leadership, you need to take care first of the leader. So leadership starts from within. So we have some time left. Thank you for your attention until now. So we would like to have some questions, sharings, and please use chat, please unmute yourself and show your curiosity.
Yes, I would like to invite everybody first to turn on your cameras and just give our speakers a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much.